Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm Jordan. With me, as always, is Robert.
That's right. We are royally rumbled. And how's it going? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little minute. We took a little break after SummerSlam to kind of recalibrate things a little bit, and we've had some changes.
We haven't just had changes. It's been all across the board, whether it's wrestling podcasts or wrestling in general, and now us. We've had to go back to the drawing board a little bit with our concept here.
We're going to open it up a little bit, and now we're going to do weekly episodes.
We wanted to come up with something that you guys could listen to all the time, as opposed to having a kind of a date on it, you know? Like, we didn't want to immediately date the episodes.
Yeah, and I think we came up with a pretty neat concept, kind of capitalizing on the Wednesday Night War, quote unquote.
Yeah, so basically what we're going to do is Jordan and I are going to watch both AEW Dynamite and NXT on Wednesdays or Thursday mornings. And we are going to go through the show, go through the whole card. We're going to rate it. We're going to decide who won that week based on those ratings.
So this week we had the very first AEW Dynamite episode.
Let's discuss that first. It's the first time ever on Royally Rumbled that we're discussing something other than WWE or NXT. So I think it's a huge move for us to discuss somebody else's product.
So this is gonna be new for a lot of us.
Yeah, we came into AEW completely cold on purpose because we wanted to see what their television product was going to be.
Because obviously you're starting with a much wider audience than just the hardcore wrestling community. Now you're getting people who are flipping through the channels or may have seen a commercial or a Facebook ad or an Instagram story, anything, and they're just curious to check this out. They see, oh, that's Chris Jericho. Oh, that's Dean Ambrose. Oh, that's Cody Rhodes. I remember him. Let's see what they have to offer. So, brand new big platform for them. What'd you think of the beginning of the show?
I thought it started off great. I liked the introductions that good old JR and Tony Schiavone and Excalibur did. And then they rolled right into an opening video package for Cody versus Sammy Guevara.
Yeah, and I really liked their production of the video package. It's very different from anything else that we've seen. And I really like their graphics. They're all really cool. And the production value is really good. So that's a huge aspect of television, is production value.
They had some really interesting camera angles. They were going around with that crane in a different way than we've ever seen before, I feel like.
Yes, and we didn't have to deal with Kevin Dunn's zooming, which is very refreshing.
There was no quick zooming for a stomp out session. So also something interesting for the entire show was at the beginning of every match they announced whether or not it had a time limit and what that was, and they changed throughout the night.
Yeah,
I thought that was very interesting. They were also upon entering, when you'd see their name on the lower third, it had their like win-loss record on the side, which I thought was very, very cool. But let's get into that first match.
I thought Cody's energy and entrance were fantastic, and the crowd was really hyped for him.
Oh my God, they were.
I liked the come up from under the stage.
Glad to see they didn't bring their dog this time. I saw a lot of people saying that they enjoy his entrance music, but I can't hear it, and that's something that happened throughout the night. Like, I couldn't hear the entrance music for who was coming out. Not that like I would know it off the top of my head, but I wanted to hear the song or the theme that was supposed to get me in the mood for the character that I'm about to see. And for a lot of them, I could barely hear the music.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's because they had the crowd mics up, because the crowd was very loud throughout the night. I'll give them all the credit in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's entirely possible that I couldn't hear the music because of the crowd. I I saw a couple people say that they really liked Cody's music and they think it's like some of the best in wrestling, and we've done an entire tournament to determine the best wrestling music. So I was like, oh shit, okay. And I was like, what was it? I heard like a guitar, I think, and then somebody singing. Like,
What'd you think of Sammy Guevara?
interesting. Like he's definitely like undersized. Like Cody looked big against him.
Yeah.
And that I'm definitely not used to seeing Cody look big against people, but he's also not as lean as he used to be. He's much more thick than what he used to be body wise.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think this was one of the better matches of the night in terms of like the story that they told in the ring, and that it definitely was not a spot fest. There were like spots in the match, but they did a lot of selling, and there was a lot of like registering of what had happened to them earlier in the match taking effect on them later on.
I just wish that they gave more to it, or at least Sammy on his part. I wish he emphasized his actions a little bit more.
I did like that Cody hit a springboard cutter, and then Sammy answered it with a springboard cutter later on.
Yeah, those were some cool spots.
And then Sammy did pull some classic heel tactics in that he pulled Brandy in front of him on a suicide dive.
That was awesome.
The avalanche Spanish fly.
Yeah, and I really liked the way that Sammy sold that disaster kick from Cody.
Yeah.
He like straight up backflipped.
Yeah, and there was a huge near fall after that. I definitely thought the match was over at that point.
Me too. And then Cody busting out the reverse superplex off the top rope.
Yep. Huge spot. And then Cody eventually gets the win by roll up.
Yeah, he got the knees up off the shooting star press and rolled him up. That I wasn't crazy about because it felt like it wasn't a defining win for Cody.
No, he escaped.
Yeah.
With the victory.
Yeah, and they said
that
like a loss here would definitely affect his championship standing
because they're taking into account wins and losses and all that.
Yeah,
which I think is awesome. I loved Jericho's beatdown of him. Just on its in a vacuum, like that beatdown was really, really well done. And sets up their match for Full Gear, I think, really well.
I think so as well. I thought it went a little too long.
Yeah. But I think they were combating the picture-in-picture commercial break also.
Yeah.
So everything went long when you have to deal with waiting for TV to come back for sure. So the match that followed the Jericho beatdown was a guy that I've never seen before in Brandon Cutler. And MJF, who gave a scathing promo to come out to first.
Dude, his promo was great. He basically set the tone for the entire match, for his entire character. Within the first 10 seconds, you knew exactly what this guy was about. And it's only going to get better.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I feel like the match didn't really have a lot to offer.
Nope.
It was a lot of MJF punching and taunting and punching and taunting. And I had the thought to myself watching it that this is a lot like when I play 2K19 and I put a big move on somebody and then the character's just laying on the ground and I have nothing to do but taunt or keep attacking them. And then I did like when Brandon Cutler got in a huge slap. He slapped MJF across the face. I thought that was a great move.
Yep.
Really like drove home the point of like he doesn't like this guy. This guy's being an asshole to him and that kind of thing. And then Cutler went to the top and hurt his knee. And I don't know if he hurt it on the dive to the outside or when he went to go climb to the top rope, but he clearly hurt himself.
But I thought that the match was like a quick TV match and it kind of helped the show in a way because it was so short. Yeah,
and MJF wound up winning with the armbar. So,
which is such a strange finish for him. Doesn't that seem strange?
But I don't know if the match got cut short because of the injury.
That's true.
I felt like it might have been, because I thought for sure, hearing and seeing all the stuff about MJF leading up to this, that he would have a coming out party on their first program to like really push that he is going to be the biggest heel in wrestling of all time. Like that's what they're pushing him for.
Mm-hmm.
And the beginning of the match started off where I thought that was going to definitely be like, okay. But then the abrupt ending made me think that the injury possibly had something to do with it.
That's true.
I wanted more from MJF in that. I wanted more from him. So I'm excited to kind of watch next week and see, if he's on the show, if he's working a match, what I want to see more of him. I want to get more out of it on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. But then leading out of that, we got a stellar match between Hangman Page and Pac.
Yeah, I think, honestly, so this was announced as having a 10-minute time limit. And I think that this was probably the match of the night for me.
I'm going to have to agree with you.
They did so much in the time that they were given. They did so much in the time that they were given.
Dude, I know. They built up with big hits, and each hit registered.
Suicide dive, springboard 450, like they were really going into it. My favorite move that was done in the entire match was the avalanche fall away slam.
I knew you'd pop for that. I knew it.
Because nobody does a fall away slam. And not only he did a regular one, Hangman, and then he did the avalanche one from the top. I was like, yes, because that move is brutal.
Yeah, and Pac sold it like crazy. I completely missed watching Adrian Neville wrestle. It was so cool to see him on my TV again, because I haven't seen him in
a long time,
in a while. But I did like them calling the Rings of Saturn the Brutalizer.
The Brutalizer.
That's such a great name for a finish.
Which is how Pac won, which I definitely did not think was going to happen.
It's a great transition move. Hangman Page really impressed me, because I've never seen him wrestle before. I've seen clips and stuff.
He's supposed to be like the guy.
Yeah.
And I definitely think coming out of that match, I mean, who the hell are we? But like, I see it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get what the hype is about for him. It's not like misplaced or incorrect. He's definitely that damn good.
And he's only 28.
Yeah.
Which
they mentioned that.
Surprised me. I'm like, this guy's a 90s baby? What the fuck? But yeah, his moveset's great. He looks good, and he's a lot bigger than I realized.
Yeah, he is also very thick.
But big win for Pac.
Following that, we had Nyla Rose versus Rio for the AEW Women's title, and this one was no time limit.
Which was interesting that they just let them go.
Yep, just go till there's a winner. That was the onus of the match.
Yeah, Nyla Rose was a formidable force. I didn't understand why Rio was so much smaller than her, but Nyla Rose wasn't really giving her... there were so many opportunities where Nyla could have gone for a pin or something, and I think the internal logic of the match was just a little flawed.
I mean, considering that she could use the woman as a toothpick if she wanted to, the size difference between the two, right away, like, because we've seen on the WWE side of things, we've seen smaller opponents versus larger opponents before. That's nothing new, but I couldn't believe how small Riho actually was.
Yes. And the fact that she was still getting like offense in, like they didn't treat it as like a big man versus little man match technically.
No.
But I don't know. Like if you watch all of Nia Jax's matches, all of her movements make sense. She might not be doing it well.
Yeah.
but all of her movements, they're calculated, they make sense. She always takes that turnbuckle spot.
Yeah.
And that's how they start to wear her down. Or they work a body part. They didn't do any of that in this match.
I did like when Rio attempted the crossbody on to the outside, or the suicide dive, I guess, to the outside.
Yeah.
And she got caught, and then Nyla walked like 15 feet and then hit her with a backbreaker. I was just like, just pin her. What I couldn't understand, like, when you see the size difference, the STF should snap Rio in half. And it was locked in twice, and she got out of it both times, which can lead to, like, the resiliency thing, but it just, like, I felt like there was such a disconnect with how, like, the two of them.
Yeah.
And just how the whole match went. I feel like they didn't really have great chemistry.
No, not at all, which is why it's surprising to me that they went in this direction with their women's championship for the finals to crown their first champion.
Nyla Rose hit a Death Valley driver.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
And it looked disgusting.
It looked great. And when I say it looked, so I wanted to say it looked horrible, but I didn't want to make it sound like I didn't like how it looked. It looked great, but it looked horrible for Riho.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. And then, so I get that Rio does a Northern Lights suplex. And she attempted it twice in the ring and it did not go her way. But she was able to hit it from the top rope, which I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
And then she picked up the victory.
With a double knees to the face.
Yeah. That she had been hitting the entire match. Just back to it, 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 and it finally put Nyla Rose down.
So my biggest issues with this was Nyla was just kind of acting dumb, like she wasn't trying to win. Then she was like trying to get herself disqualified or something with chairs.
The front flip onto the chairs, onto the chair pile on the outside.
Yeah. But like at the same time, like Riho isn't doing anything to me to prove that she should be in this spot. Like she didn't wow me in this match.
No, I could definitely say that she's probably had much better matches in her career. I don't think that this was one of the best, but she won the inaugural AEW Women's Championship out of it. So
it's true.
We'll see where it goes from there. And
then the weird post-match beatdown.
I had no idea what was happening. At this point in the show, I was like, I don't know what's going on with this. But they didn't. I don't think, and this is another thing, I guess, just about the show in general. JR is a legend. Shivani is a legend, but I don't think that they did a great service for the characters and the storylines going forward last night.
No.
I didn't know why Kenny Omega was out there, and I don't think that they explained it. And if they did, I missed it. And I don't think that that's a good thing either.
They said something about him training Rio. So I think that's it. But like you said, they had a hard time laying groundwork for stories or developing characters and talking about characters and establishing a motivation.
JR was way too busy trying to not say something offensive.
But Nyla almost dropped Michael Nakasawa on his head, and she had to pick him back up. It's just there was a big disconnect in this match. It did not go the way that I had thought it would.
I just feel like Nyla could pick up Riho and javelin throw her into the mezzanine if she wanted to. So, just like, I get suspension of belief. That's why we're all here. You know what I mean? But that size difference, I was just like, wow. Okay.
It's because they didn't treat it like it was a size difference.
No, they tried to treat it like it was straight up, but like you're watching it going, there's clearly a difference here.
Yeah. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they follow that up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just want to see, like, now I just want to know, like, all right, well, coming out of that, what happens?
Yep.
And maybe that was the goal, but that's a real weird way to get there, I feel like.
So moving on to the main event, we had The Elite versus Chris Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz.
And this was the time limit on this one was a TV time remaining.
Yeah.
So it was going to be the match was going to finish the show. I feel like Jericho led right out with classic chicken shit heel tactics, in that he got himself into the ring, got the crowd worked up, and then tagged himself out because he didn't actually want to face Kenny.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
It's classic Jericho stuff. Like, that's good shit.
And the crowd was nice and fired up for that match.
Yeah, yeah.
What I didn't understand, did they say that there was no disqualifications?
If they did, I missed it.
Because
but I don't think that they said that there was no disqualifications. The only stipulation-esque around it was that it was TV time remaining.
Because, watching it, the ref lost control of the match, to which then Jon Moxley shows up, gets into the ring, where he and Kenny Omega are the only two in the ring with the referee. The referee is looking right at them, and then they just brawl. And they fall out of the ring, and they brawl to the side, and the match continues.
And the camera followed the guys that weren't in the ring.
Yeah.
For a time, for a good time, before we came back to what was eventually Ortiz and Santana picking apart the Young Bucks.
Yeah. Which those guys are awesome.
Oh my God. When they first announced that they signed with AEW, I was like, this is going to be amazing because they are fantastic. Mm-hmm. I've watched a bunch of their stuff from Impact, where they've worked with the Lucha Brothers, among other people. And they're great. They're so great.
So then we got Kenny Omega getting dumped on his head through a glass table, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was a great spot. It was a great spot. In the special secret VIP area that existed in a hallway, that apparently to some folks didn't look like it was set up for that to happen.
It was very spontaneous.
So spontaneous that they wound up in that exact location,
off in the back corner.
Yeah, with a chair that was not sat in.
It just doesn't make any sense to me how that wasn't a DQ finish, unless they're just not doing DQs.
Lucha Underground let stuff go when it was up and running. Maybe that was what they were doing there. I saw somebody put forward that Kenny wasn't the legal man, but I'd have to rewatch it to confirm that.
Well, it doesn't make sense if he was the legal man, because he would have had to get pinned.
Right.
Who knows? But they need to be more clear and upfront about the rules.
Yeah.
If this,
because if that's the case, if there's any tag team that's in a match and you have a beef with the guy that's not in the ring, just take him.
Yeah.
Nothing will happen. The match will continue, and you could just get your pound of flesh if you wanted.
So yeah, that was really it.
I liked Santana and Ortiz. Their tag move set is fantastic. It was a lot of fun to get to see it in such limited time that we got to see it.
Yeah, I can't wait until we see a legit tag team match with these two versus obviously the Young Bucks, because that seems what that's building towards.
The Young Bucks set up for a Meltzer driver, and Jericho dove in with a catch code breaker to break that up, and I thought that was probably the spot of that match.
Yeah, dude, that code breaker spot was awesome.
And then Jericho won the match with a Judas Effect elbow.
Yeah, which is a weird move, but I'm okay with it because it's like a running strike that he could hit out of anywhere.
Yeah, and he doesn't have. It's not like John Cena's wind up
Side punch.
punch thing that he does, which is terrible. It actually looks devastating, and it's a good move. Like it works as a finish for him.
So yeah, and then we get the brawl for all to end the night.
Yeah. So Jericho and Ortiz and Santana are beating down the Young Bucks, and Cody comes out to make the save. And then Sammy Guevara comes out to make the save, or to restack the odds against the Elite. And then Dustin Rhodes comes out to even the odds. And then the crowd goes wild for Jake Hager, better known or formerly known as Jack Swagger, who, among all of these people who are apparently no taller than 6 foot, looked like an absolute behemoth in that ring with everyone.
Yeah, and Swagger's always been like a bigger guy, but he looked massive over the rest of the guys in the ring. And I guess that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted someone who would be dominant and show extreme force, and that's exactly what he did.
But he hits that gut wrench on Dustin, the other tallest person in the ring. Like he couldn't have picked up a smaller person that it would be easy to get the gut wrench on. He picks up the other tallest guy in the ring, and doesn't put him through the ring bell table, and it looked absolutely brutal.
Yeah, definitely got the effect that they wanted.
But just watching that brawl happen at the end of the match, and the commentary team naming who's coming out, but not like for what reason, or like what the potential affiliation is, or, you know, I mean, we're watching it, but I don't know. I just thought that they didn't do that great of a job of telling me what was going on. I was watching it happen and making my own determinations about who was coming out for what reason. And I don't want to make this comparison all the time, and I don't want to, but then again, Shivani was making this comparison all night long as if this was the continuation of it, but it felt like the end of a WCW pay-per-view where just nothing was settled.
Yeah, it was weird to me that they didn't want like a defining match to be the end of their show and then a hook, but like it was just muddy from the beginning.
Yeah.
So going in, being a fresh set of eyes in AEW, us having never seen some of these people, the way they were presented to us, the way that the matches were handled, the finishes were, the commentary, the production value, we've decided to go ahead and give AEW Dynamite Week 1 a C.
And that's all things considered. I mean, Jordan and I both took extensive notes watching the show, to make sure that we didn't miss anything or that we were considering everything. I was legitimately excited to sit down Wednesday, and I was like, I'll watch AEW live. I want to see what this is like right out of the gate. And you know, fresh face, just like, let's see what they're gonna do. And the beginning of the show was good, but as it progressed, I feel like they lost some steam.
So moving on to WWE NXT, their first 2-hour foray onto the USA Network. So they kicked off their show with a video package with Corey Taylor from Slipknot, which was pretty cool. And then they went right in to the NXT Championship match as Matt Riddle challenged Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. Right at the top of the show.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted to get those initial views first. They wanted the eyes to be on them first. And knowing that this match was coming up, like, it was difficult for me to be like, no, I want to see what's going to happen here on the AEW side, knowing that Riddle versus Cole was happening on the other network.
Mm-hmm.
This match, They did everything.
They came out the gate hot. The crowd was into it. They were doing all sorts of stuff. They were countering the bro to sleep into the backstabber.
Yeah.
They were just doing...
I think that was probably one of the coolest things in that match, for sure.
Absolutely.
Was coming up off of his shoulders and just falling backwards onto it.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
The crazy strike exchanges that they did. They were just laying shots in on one another. The selling after the crazy kickouts. Like, for example, when Cole hit the Panama Sunrise. It's just the look of shock in his face after Riddle kicked out. Just taking the beats and the moments to do that and expounding upon that on commentary. It's just, and then like countering the Panama Sunrise into a bro to sleep was amazing.
Yeah. And then I think that was the sequence that was bro to sleep, powerbomb, knee, floating bro.
Yeah. The final flash.
Just unbelievable. And then near fall.
They definitely had a lot of near falls on this show. And that's a good thing because you never know when this match could end. And they did a good job of telling that story. Cole using the cast was a little weird for me because they're delivering such big moves throughout and he just kind of bonks him on the head. I mean,
Sorry,
I'm glad he won.
I popped for the word bonk.
Yeah, the finish was the last shot, and that always looks good. Yeah, just a little strange to have them kick the shit out of each other, only to have him use the cast and then, like, pin him. It just...
Well, he did everything in his power.
Yeah. It was just weird to me.
And then later on in the night, he gets interviewed, and he's asked by Kathy Kelly why he used the cast as a weapon. And he was like, I don't even want to have the cast on. NXT doctors make me wear the cast. And I was like, shit, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Like, I wouldn't have this if they didn't make me wear it.
It's true.
Basically admitting, like, I probably would have lost had I not been forced to wear this.
But then right after, Finn Balor showing up.
Yeah, what an unbelievable... Because you could have given me 10 guesses as to what was going to happen. I definitely would not have been like, oh, Finn's coming back.
No. He's a legitimate star.
Yeah.
And he's going to be really good for NXT.
Definitely.
And it's going to be good for him, I think. Because his wheels were kind of spinning on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, and they just didn't know what to do with him. But as he put it, Finn Balor is NXT.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's true. He's my favorite NXT champion that we've ever had. I'm really glad that he's back. We got a good, quick little promo tease with Adam Cole, setting up future stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
All about Finn Balor being in NXT. But then we got a match between Io Shirai and Mia Yim.
Which, they're coming out of that fatal 4-way to get the women's championship opportunity that Candice won. And so these two had beef within that match, so they got to face off.
Yeah, they were laying shots into one another that whole match. And they started slow, but they continued to pick up the pace throughout the match with bigger moves, longer time to sell. My only issue was that the picture-in-picture during commercials kept coming up, and it kind of killed the momentum for me a lot.
Two full commercial breaks. Yeah. Completely full commercial breaks. And that sucked. And I saw somebody had complained about it on Twitter, and Mia Yim responded, "We got to have a 20-minute match." But they definitely take the foot off the pedal when they know they're in commercial, which sucks. I think they should be doing crazy stuff while they're in commercial to get people to not look at the colorful stuff that's on this side of the screen, but to watch them continue to work.
Yeah, because that happened to me, and I'm like trying to pay attention, but like at the same time, you have the sound from the commercials. It was just pulling my attention
and
away.
My eye just keeps getting drawn to what the commercial is
exactly.
selling. So I feel like they could probably write that, but what I loved about this match more than anything, and I think that in our initial ratings of this, I rated this way higher than you did.
Mm-hmm.
Io as a heel never gives an inch in those matches when she's up. She was on top of Mia the entire match when she had the offense. But once Mia turned the tide and did her like comeback that she does, Io stayed as far away from her as possible after that.
Yep.
It was really, really interesting.
It's like a realistic approach.
Yeah, because Io was brutal, and she was punching her and kicking her and holding her down on the, like, she was doing everything, and then once Mia turned the tide, Io couldn't get far enough away from her.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's just such a small psychology thing that I don't even know if anybody is like registering that off the top of their head. But it was definitely something that I noticed. I was like, wow, she's like really tight on her, and then suddenly is outside of the ring, is rolling out of underneath the ropes, all that kind of stuff.
So then Io hit that low angle moonsault, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. Because Nigel explained that it was for more force, is what he said.
So that's good on commentary that they're like putting over the moves like that.
Definitely. And that's something that NXT always does.
We got Kevin Nash and Scott Hall hanging out watching the show.
Yes, that was great.
And then they tuned in for Johnny Gargano versus Shane Thorne.
Yeah.
They've been building this for a little while on TV. I like the direction that they're going with Shane Thorne. The Black Swan, they keep calling him, which is a cool nickname.
I heard that. I caught that. Yeah.
I will wager that Johnny Gargano is the best babyface in WWE.
There's literally no argument here.
No. Thorne looked brutal in the way he was beating down Johnny Gargano during the match, hitting him with those suplexes, landing him on his head.
Yeah, those backdrops especially.
Yeah.
The one on the apron was especially brutal. I think my favorite thing that Thorne did, and it's not one that they showed in the replays, but the cravat lock that he did around the ring post.
Yes.
That, I was like, that's brutal.
Yeah, and then Gargano just like kicked his head off to end the match, which looked incredible. Good showing by Shane Thorne. Great showing by Johnny Gargano. Really good.
Shane sold that super kick fantastic.
Yeah.
Because he just crumbled to the ground.
Yeah. Great match.
Yeah, it was a little quick for me. They got a bunch of stuff in. They got in and got out, I felt like,
So going from Johnny Gargano, let's jump over to his wife, Candice LeRae, as she looked to take on Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship.
Yeah, this also started slow. They kind of built their matches similarly, I think.
Dude, but I loved this match.
Yeah. It picked up quick. It was slow at the beginning, but it picked up quick, and once it picked up, it was crazy.
I will also wager that Candice LeRae might be the best babyface for the women in WWE.
See, that I'll just be like, okay, maybe. I don't know that we've seen. Honestly, I don't think that we've seen her enough to even say that.
She has, like, it's all there, and this match proved that to me.
She could. I will say that she could be, for sure, with more time. Absolutely.
You know me, I was pushing for this match for months. I was like, yeah, Shayna's mowing through her opponents. Who's she going to face next? Candice LeRae. Let's get her in there. They finally did.
Yeah.
And the crowd ate it up.
I will say Candice hit probably the best suicidas of any of the women that have done suicidas that I've seen.
Oh my God, the suicide dives, dude, looked the way she was falling on her. That looked amazing, and that's also on Shayna's behalf. Shayna was selling those awesome because there's certain ways you could take.
She was stepping up into them to catch her, which made it look more brutal.
Targeting the arm, selling throughout the match.
Yep.
Candice actually locking in the Kirifuda clutch.
I love that.
It was the first time that's ever happened.
And then Shayna like getting out of it almost instantly, but not immediately.
Yeah, like it held on for a beat. That a lot. But it's also because she was targeting her arm that whole match.
Yep.
So she couldn't keep it locked in.
Shayna also hit like a super side suplex.
Yes.
In that, which was a really good spot, and Candice hit that dive swinging neck breaker.
Yeah.
Which I was like, wow, that was crazy.
Yeah, she like gave it some force too when she brought her down, which looked great.
Yeah. And then the finishing sequence I thought was probably the best part of the match.
I agree. That match built and built and built up until that end. We got her going for the springboard moonsault, and Shayna just moved out of the way, which was great, and transitioned right into that Kirifuda clutch. I was really hoping that this would have been Candice's night, but I think Candice will also get a return match.
Oh, definitely. I think that they left me wanting to see them go at it once or twice more.
Great hope spot for the finish.
Yeah, because she broke it for like a second, or what did she roll it into the pin, but then Shayna didn't break?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
And then we got our fifth match of the night, which was Pete Dunne versus Danny Burch, which was an exciting turn of events when I heard Danny Burch's music play.
Yes, I've said it before. I'm a huge Danny Burch fan. I think he's criminally underrated on the NXT roster. So immediately this match caught my interest. I think they just wanted to do like a straight up British strong style match.
And that's exactly what we got. They like messed each other up.
They did. At one point the ref broke out gloves and I wasn't sure why. But I don't know if it was the lighting or if Danny had a thing on his face.
Danny
right?
Burch cut his eye open.
Oh, okay. But it had a real technical start to it. Pete Dunne's trademark joint manipulation. Tons of reversals. Pete Dunne working Danny's arm the entire match. But this one was also kind of quick for me. You know?
Yeah, I think the commercials also halted the momentum.
Yeah.
So, and that's just something we're going to have to get used to because we're not used to seeing stuff like that on NXT. And if it is, it's only for like a minute.
I don't like it.
Damn you, advertisers. And the thing about this episode of NXT was limited commercial interruption. So,
and there was a lot of commercial
I wonder what it's going to be like on a regular basis.
Yeah. Well, that first half hour or so where Riddle and Cole were going at it, there were no commercials whatsoever.
That's true.
So that's why it felt like there were so many during the matches that followed, because they had to make up all those commercials.
It's crazy.
It sucks.
Yeah.
But that's just what TV is. But Pete Dunne picked up the win with the bitter end, which was kind of abrupt.
And then we got Damian Priest coming out. And
that was
attacking.
So cool. So
the
cool.
The lights just went down, which was great.
I love that they're going. What is the archer, the demon archer, something like that?
Oh, I missed that.
That's like his nickname that they're going with. And he stood in the ring while it was all black. He pulled back on the imaginary bow and let it go, and his name lit up on the LED board.
In fire.
Right. So, like, he shot the arrow to light his name, which I thought was just, like, it's such a cool little thing that they're going to go through with him. And I think if you're going to give me Pete Dunne versus Damian Priest, I'm in for sure.
Yeah, and that's clearly where they're going with it. So that's going to be an exciting thing. And we also had the main event, which was the NXT Tag Team Championship match between the Street Profits and the Undisputed Era, consisting of Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly.
I think it's very interesting that both shows finished with a tag match.
Yeah, they were trying to like match things a little bit, I think.
Yeah, because the AEW women's match took place, I believe, during...
At the same time as the NXT match, because we were texting each other.
It was very interesting that happened at the same time. But yeah, Street Profits' entrance with Wale was pretty sweet, I thought. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of high energy.
Yeah, and kudos to the Full Sail crowd because they were hot the whole night.
Yeah, still not burnt out, guy who asked that question on Twitter.
I thought this was a perfect tag team match. I'm a big fan of tag team wrestling. They treated it like a tag team match, not just like a brawl or anything. There were tags made. There were team moves. There were false finishes.
Undisputed Era isolated Montez Ford for ever.
Yeah.
At the beginning of it, to the point where I was like, has Dawkins been in it yet? And he wasn't. And he finally got the tag, and the match just exploded from there.
Yeah. Kyle O'Reilly once again locked in that knee bar. And
yes.
Bobby Fish had the guillotine on.
Yep.
Which, when those are happening at the same time, it's never good because one of them is getting dumped on the other. And that's exactly what happened. That's like their signature thing. They do it in every tag team match.
Yeah.
It's
Dawkins, it was Dawkins, right, who just fell into everybody.
Great stuff.
Because then you got a quadruple down. Montez Ford hit that huge dive over the turnbuckle to everybody, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
And the crowd got a very clear holy shit chant in there.
Yeah.
But Undisputed Era do what they do, and they won by pinfall.
Dude, having Roderick Strong come out and then eat a spear on the apron was really cool.
Brutal.
It made sense because they're the shitty heels. Yep. And shitty heels are going to do what shitty heels do, which is try to cheat.
And then they're going to face the repercussions like shitty heels face.
Yep.
So then Adam Cole came out onto the stage to congratulate his Undisputed Era brethren. And a new challenger appeared for Adam Cole.
Friggin' Tommaso Ciampa.
He's back, and no one will survive.
He hurt his neck in March. He's back in October. And he's looking for the belt that he never lost.
Yep.
Great story. Didn't have to say a word. Just stood up there and looked. And that crowd went bananas. They ate it up.
He looked Adam Cole up and down and just kind of like staring at Goldie like, that's not yours.
Yeah. I like that he circled him too.
Yes.
It's just like a subtle thing. Made it a little more believable. Made Adam Cole feel like he was trapped.
Yeah, so overall, we added up our scores here, and we gave NXT a B.
Wow.
For this week.
Yeah, I think combined with the titles matches, the stakes, the drama from that, the matches, the backstage vignettes, the promos, the returns, I think honestly, if you just put the matches up against what AEW showed, I think NXT takes it. But they set it up as a takeover, essentially. Yeah. They set it up as their pay-per-view, but they just put it on TV. Yeah. Which, I mean, good for them because they knew what they were doing with that. AEW had to start a bunch of stuff from scratch, essentially. So I think that's where it lied. I'm interested to see what happens coming out of this. Yeah, I'm very interested to see how the pendulum will shift in which way it will go.
Yeah.
With the momentum. But for this week, week 1, in the battle for the crown, the very first one, NXT takes the crown.
Yeah, that it. I mean, we're more than willing to discuss it. If you've got questions as to why, or how we could say AEW wasn't better somehow, we'll talk about it if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, go ahead and follow us on Twitter at Royally Rumbled. We're also on Instagram and Facebook, so be sure to give us a follow on there as well.
And if you want to follow us individually, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Yesball.
And I, Jordan, can be found on Instagram and Twitter at JL24FPS.
Yeah, so that's week 1 of Battle for the Crown. Come back next week where we will recap rating the shows and crowning who won the week.
So for Royally Rumbled, I'm Jordan.
I am Robert.
Make sure you tune in next week and every Friday going forward to make sure you find out who wins our battle for the crown.